Visions, I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most viral knockout ever.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass, and I'm gonna beat Jaden on Love. On my mama, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass.
Tank's legacy, if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Gervonta Davis just exploded with fury after Jake Paul allegedly boasted he'd knock him out in only 3 rounds. A bold claim that sent shockwaves through an already chaotic build-up. Behind the flashing cameras and online trash talk, critics whisper that this isn't just another fight. It's a test of Davis's pride, his reputation, his legacy. Because for a fighter of his caliber, even stepping into the ring with someone like Jake Paul feels like a gamble, one misstep away from humiliation. But if Davis can cut through the noise, the size, and the raw spectacle that Paul brings, this one wouldn't just silence doubters. It could become the kind of moment that burns itself into boxing history, forever defining how the world remembers him.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks...
The answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion, multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind you?
Jake Paul has turned up the heat, boldly promising the knockout of the year when he steps in against Gervonta Davis. To him, this isn't just another fight. It's a stage, and is ready to steal the spotlight. Every word he speaks drips with confidence, as if he's writing his own legend in real time. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to silence the critics, shock the purists, and carve his name into boxing's chaotic story. By chasing that one perfect knockout, Paul isn't just swinging for victory. He's gambling on spectacle itself, proving that for him, this battle is as much about legacy as it is about landing the punch.
Fighters, because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're going to see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head-to-head with an amazing card. World championship fights back-to-back-to-back. And that's just how the MVP way we do it. And I'm going to come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
Romero has stepped into the conversation, offering a calm voice amid the chaos surrounding a possible Jake Paul knockout over Gervonta Davis. He insists that even if the unthinkable happened, it wouldn't stain Tank's legacy. After all, Davis isn't just another contender. He's a 3-division world champion, a name etched deep into boxing's history. In his Instagram reels and interviews, Romero reminds everyone that greatness isn't erased by one bad night. One loss, even one that ends in fireworks, can't overshadow the years of sweat, triumph, and dominance that built Gervonta Davis into the fighter the world knows today.
Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all that stuff, right? At the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Facts.
Right or wrong?
Facts. Facts.
So just do what's best for you.
Rolly Romero brings a sense of balance to the storm brewing around Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis. He believes that no matter what happens under those lights, Tank's legacy remains untouchable. He's already conquered multiple divisions, earned his respect, and written his story in gold. Romero makes it clear Davis has nothing left to prove by beating Paul. Still, he doesn't overlook the danger. He admits Jake's size is real, a physical advantage that can't be ignored. But even with that edge, Romero reminds fans that size alone can't outweigh years of grit, glory, and the undeniable legacy Tank has built inside the ring.
Too big for him, but like Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or it's an exhibition. We don't know if they throw at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Daniel Cormier couldn't hide his shock when news broke that Gervonta Davis would be stepping into the ring with Jake Paul. In a recent clip, DC's disbelief was written all over his face as he called the matchup downright absurd, a clash that, in his eyes, made no sense. Why would a fighter of Tank's pedigree, a proven world-class champion, risk it all against an influencer boxer? Cormier admitted he never imagined someone of Davis' stature taking such a turn. Beyond the hype, he voiced real concern about the massive gap in size and power, questioning if this spectacle might blur the line between legacy and entertainment, and whether it could leave a permanent mark on Tank's storied career.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas. When Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul, I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta "Tank" Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is, but he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI didn't hold back, calling out the growing circus around these crossover fights and how hype often overshadows the sport itself. In his latest video, he took direct aim at Jake Paul, accusing him of twisting the essence of influencer boxing into pure spectacle. To KSI, it's no longer about skill or heart in the ring. It's about headlines, views, and viral moments. He argued that Paul's flashy promotions and attention-grabbing stunts might sell fights, but they also blur the sacred line between true athletic competition and the manufactured chaos of entertainment.
AJ and Jake was never gonna happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was actually gonna happen? Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything online.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know, well, okay, how do I say it like this? Itoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Itoma. That record says a lot. Itoma's like 18, not 18, Itoma's 20, inexperienced, one. Like, I just knew Itoma was going to just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Itoma would be him and Wilder.
Journalist Gareth A. Davies didn't mince words when sharing his doubts about the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis showdown. To him, it's yet another sign that boxing is trading its soul for spectacle. He points out the obvious weight gap in the exhibition-style setup, arguing that it chips away at the fairness and spirit that once defined the sport. Yes, Davies admits, the fight will pull headlines, flood social media, and rake in money. But at what cost? In chasing attention, he warns, boxing risks losing the very thing that made it great, its credibility as a true, honorable test of skill, grit, and heart.
Signed. I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week, £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul. But 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that... do I mean Charlie Brooker? No, Baker. Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That... he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that Gervonta Davis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up. Everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner in that fight?
Tank has opened up with rare honesty about the things that genuinely keep him up at night as his clash with Jake Paul draws near. He admits Jake's power is no joke, something he needs to feel for himself before he can truly gauge the danger. The size, the reach, the way Jake uses both, it's all new territory for Tank, who's never faced an opponent quite like this. He recognizes that Paul's awkward rhythm and mental toughness have shaken others before, and he knows every bit of it must be calculated, studied, and counted. Still, Tank remains unshaken in spirit. He promises that when November 14th arrives, he'll adapt, evolve, and rise to the moment with everything he's got. Yet beyond the fight itself lies a bigger story. Supporters claim this matchup represents the changing face of boxing, a collision between tradition and the digital age. Jake Paul, born from social media and entertainment, speaks to a younger generation that never cared for the old rules. He's brought millions of new eyes to the sport, fans who crave drama, spectacle, and charisma. On the other side stands Gervonta Davis, raw, real, and unapologetically himself. The kind of fighter whose authenticity cuts through the noise, connecting with a generation tired of filters and scripted perfection.
Has been 4 years in the making, when a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they are putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concerned me, his power, gotta test his power, gotta test his just everything. To be honest, I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot. But when it comes down to November the 14th, you know, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, you know, his arm reach, his size, his power, you know, the way he moving and things like that. I just gotta adapt, you know, as I fight him come.
Nikisa Badarian, the co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has stepped forward with confidence to silence doubts about Jake Paul's size advantage over Gervonta Davis. He insists that size alone won't decide this fight, not against a technician like Tank. According to Badarian, the heavier catchweight wasn't about dominance, but experience. Jake simply needed the cushion as he continues to grow as a boxer. He also revealed that this showdown wasn't some spur-of-the-moment stunt. It's been quietly brewing for years. After a potential matchup with Canelo Alvarez fell apart, the gears shifted fast. Badarian says Davis had been chasing this fight for a long time, and when the Canelo deal collapsed, the road finally cleared. That's when destiny pointed straight toward Jake Paul.
News broke, Jake and Tank are gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, there's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's gonna be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight. And people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing? And has it ever, you know, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. And now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Nikisa Badarian admits the size gap between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis is undeniable. Paul walks in heavier, taller, and with the longer reach. But he insists none of that overshadows the one thing that truly matters: Davis' mastery inside the ring. For over a decade, Tank has been a decorated professional, a world champion with lightning speed, surgical timing, and a ruthless instinct to finish. He's proven adaptable, dangerous, and precise across every style he's faced. Jake Paul, meanwhile, is still learning the deeper layers of the game, and Badarian notes he's never gone up against someone with Davis' pedigree. Yet, online debates are catching fire. Some fans claim Tank is chasing the paycheck, not the challenge, turning away from big-name opponents for a more profitable spectacle with Jake Paul. But others push back, saying that kind of talk disrespects everything Davis has built. Undefeated, multi-division titles, years of domination. To suggest he's avoiding real competition, they argue, is to ignore the legacy he's already carved into boxing history.
We wasn't gonna ever fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was all right, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some trash, he was some trash, he ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end of the day.
But those criticisms often overlook everything Gervonta Davis has already built. He's a multi-time world champion with an unblemished record and a reel of knockout highlights that prove his brilliance inside the ropes. Choosing a high-profile spectacle now doesn't erase his legacy. It only expands it in a sport where fame and fighting have become inseparable. In today's boxing world, greatness isn't measured by belts alone, but by impact, reach, and how far your name echoes beyond the ring. On the other side, Jake Paul stands firm in his own vision. He claims he's already made history, not through championships, but through disruption. His shattered viewership records, sold massive pay-per-views, and pulled new generations into boxing by blending it with entertainment and influencer culture. He's beaten respected names like Anderson Silva and even Mike Tyson in a sanctioned fight, moments that, for many, transcend traditional title chasing. And when offered an honorary WBA belt, Paul turned it down, insisting that real recognition isn't given, it's earned.
Nah, they'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You know, but belts collect dust, and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time, just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
Jake Paul has already shifted his sights beyond Gervonta Davis, boldly naming Anthony Joshua as his next target, and that single statement sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Some fans laughed it off as delusion. Others saw it as the audacity that made Paul who he is. Facing a powerhouse like Joshua, a former unified heavyweight champion with a resume stacked in gold and a body built for destruction, feels almost unthinkable. The size, the experience, the sheer difference in pedigree, it all seems impossible. Yet, for Jake Paul, that's the point. He's never chased what's easy. Every call-out, every headline-grabbing challenge fits his pattern, a relentless push to climb higher, prove doubters wrong, and cement his place among the names he once only watched from afar.
Anyone, anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm going to kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm going to kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's going to go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
He's going to go and fight a 140er and then move up, 135er, and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now, this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight, and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake Paul is going to be.
How do you see it? A brilliant career move for Davis, or a risky gamble that could backfire?